Today I played Plants vs. Zombies Fusion using only walnuts. PVZ Fusion is a fan game where you can combine all sorts of plants into a lot of interesting things. I'm going to try to see if it is possible to beat PVZ Fusion using only the most simple defensive plant there is out there, walnuts. And to truly see if it is possible, I'm going to be playing the game on maximum difficulty. Are you sure mode? Yeah. This one's a doozy, but I hope you guys enjoy. The challenge starts on level 1-4 because, well, that's when you actually get walnut. The most important part of this challenge is that even though the zombies like brown coats are extremely powerful in this game, mostly because I put them to difficulty 5, walnut is actually one of the only plants to have every other plant available to combine with it. Meaning in each level, we get to pretty much obtain a new plant to use. Off the bat, we have sunnut, which can be used as a wall while producing sun. It's important to note that when it takes certain amounts of damage, it can actually produce extra sun, meaning using it as a wall isn't too terrible. So in another sense, it's good to put my sun producers in the front for this challenge. This doesn't prove you weirdos who like putting sunflowers in the front, you freaks. We also unlock the pea shooter walnut, which is known as peanut. Yeah, not to get confused with PVZ2 peanut because this design is 10 times more disgusting, and its projectile, although pretty weak, has piercing damage. And then we unlock cherry bomb walnut, which you'll see when it's needed. I forgot cherry bomb explosions don't kill them on the highest difficulty. Yeah, that's an interesting fact. Probably the most frustrating part of this challenge is that, well, not everything can be a wall, even if it's in the name, because I need plants in the back too. But also walnuts cooldown? Yeah, this challenge is going to be a nightmare. Luckily, by using some tech on walnuts, like fusing them right as they're about to die, or letting our explosive nuts bust by shoveling them, we learned some pretty important skills for this challenge. Okay, now what we do, holy crap, that flag door needs to take a chill pill. We let those lawnmowers go, and then we use the ultimate walnut fusion. Instead of unlocking the next plant after completing this level, we get the most important tool to this challenge, the glove. The game gives us a tutorial on how our glove works. Basically, every so often, you can move a plant or a zombie around, which will be absolutely key to victory. We're forced to spend most of our early game waiting on actually being able to plant sun nuts down. But the new pole vaulter zombie in this presents a pretty scary challenge where we have to plant a wall and then another wall to stall them. Hooray. Because of all of the spam nuts on our field though, it meant cherry nut worked really well here. However, by the time the first wave was taken care of, my nuts were not replenished in time, and the amount of zombies the game sent was atrocious, and I had to cut my first loss here on the second level of the challenge. I tried a couple more times, but the level just wasn't getting easier. After a couple of attempts though, I realized that because the level begins with a tutorial by showing off our glove's ability, we can ignore the game's instructions and stall out a bit before they start sending zombies. By this time, it also occurred to me that even though Peanut is really bad at taking out zombies, especially on max difficulty, if I were to just spam this guy on the top and bottom row, I only need to have cherry nuts to blow up the middle 3 rows, which is extremely optimal for my cooldowns, and definitely necessary since, well, cherry bombs don't recharge any faster. And even though the cooldown was really starting to wear my setup, we stall long enough for the final wave, literally in the nick of time. The next level introduces the Zombotany pea shooter, which, well, really isn't tragic, seeing as it'll take a millennium for their peas to actually shoot down a walnut. More importantly, we unlock the next walnut fusion. By combining walnut and potato mine together, we get mine nut. This walnut was actually one of my favorite things to use in the adventure mode. It reminds me of that puppet animatronic from Five Nights at Freddy's. Basically, its whole gimmick is that every time its phase changes when being eaten enough, it does a potato mine explosion. And it can do this up to 3 times before dying, making it extremely great for early game. However, because we're on the highest difficulty, a simple potato mine explosion can't even kill some of these basic zombies. Mine nut still has its uses, but it's a bit tragic that we can't use this lovable guy to its full potential. After a couple of attempts, After several attempts, I realized my best bet was to try and weaken bucketheads with a whole bunch of peanuts so that way cherry nut can one-tap them. Nut tap. Yes guys, I was already crashing out on the 6th level of this world. I can't stress this enough how painful it was. But hey, with the power of editing, you only see a fraction of my pain. I have the highest IQ on the planet! Anyways, the next nut we get is chompnut. I never thought I would be so excited to unlock Chomper, but this nut can actually devour bucket heads in one shot, and these tanky explanation zombies they send out. But there is something we unlock after going through these first couple of levels of hell, and that is an advanced fusion. PVZ fusion showcases 2 advanced fusion levels for each world of the game, and it just so happens Wallnut is a recipe used in one of them, chompzilla. Not to get confused with PVZ Heroes chompzilla, this one has some really unique abilities for being an advanced fusion. Every bite does 200 damage and heals itself for 200. That's right, this Wallnut can heal. It shoots a piercing zombie head from its bites that can stall zombies for a bit. Any zombie that has an HP bar of below 500 instantly dies, and when this kills a zombie, it quadruples its HP bar. What? Anyways, yeah, using both of these guys was a lot easier. Like, it's not even comparable to the first half of the first world. And after we complete the challenge, we unlock this sucker and can move back to the adventure mode. 1-6 was fairly easy since it was pretty much the same thing as how we unlocked Chompzilla. Chompzilla's healing ability really does make it easy for zombies to clump up and even just cherry bomb them or something like that, you know? 1-7 introduces... Any of you who has seen a PVZ fusion video of mine knows how much I hate this sucker. But for some context to what he does, here's a clip. Nah, bro, what? How do I... The only way to counter this guy is Cherry Nut, which thank God we can actually use. Cherry Nut can actually absorb cherry projectiles and heal, but if too many zombies clump up, it becomes a major issue. I tried putting Chompzillas in the very front because I really couldn't be bothered, but it definitely wasn't the right move. It's also important to mention that I unlocked the gift box, which can transform Wallnut into any random Wallnut fusion, but because I really need to focus on a prime setup, I ignore it. Instead of using peanuts to randomly trigger the cherry bomb newspaper, whatever freaking zombie, I went with Chompzillas in the middle. It definitely wasn't the best, but like I said, I couldn't be bothered with this level, so whatever. Remember guys, I have trauma from that zombie. The next level introduces us to the metal guys. You can actually grab a metal bucket and put it on a walnut for some more defense, but I think we have enough walls already. Metal guys hitting metal guys. Got my ear! Anyways, using chomper walnuts against these tanky guys was no problem. 1-9 is the final level of the grass world. Thankfully, there's no conveyor belts in the first 2 worlds, so I don't have to worry about the validity of this run. Anyways, using everything I learned from this world, having just a sun nut as a producer seemed to be okay. Oh, holy moly. Now that we're on the highest difficulty possible, that means every tile in the front is pretty much a gravestone. Not only that, but we can't get any natural sunlight, meaning at the beginning of each level, I have to spend all of my sun on a single sun nut. A single sun nut. The first level, we actually get a little sun from the sun shrooms because of the tutorial, but don't worry, I dig them up. Little to say, this was very painful. So we're gonna lose all of those lanes, but we may be able to cherry bomb our way out of this. I tried focusing on cherry nuts the first level to cheese by, but it just wasn't possible. However, by using our glove to move some zombies back, even with its very long cooldown, somehow a cooldown longer than Walnut, we can reduce the amount of mowers taken out and focus on sun nuts. And by using gift, we can be a little cheaper in getting a Chompzilla. And with this Chompzilla, we can navigate it to each lane, stalling zombies while focusing on some more sun. And when we have enough, we get another one, and then another one. By being efficient with our glove, yeah, that was the first night level. Unfortunately, the next nut fusion we can do is Fume Shroom, which its whole purpose is to throw puff nuts at the enemy. It sounds extremely funny, but I vow that I can only plant nuts first and then the fusion, meaning the puff shroom would be very unoptimal. But here's a clip of it in action, just in case you were wondering. I can't stress to you how awful it is that sun nuts are our only sun producer, especially in the night. It's almost as bad as when I had to use twin sunflowers in the night levels for PVZ reverse. One thing to keep in mind is that letting some sun nuts take damage to fasten your sun budget is really good for getting more nuts down in time. Dare I say, absolutely necessary. The zombies weren't too bad though, so spending a gift box to get Chompzilla even faster made this level not easy, just better. On the next level, we unlock Hypno Shroom. Hypno-nut was by far my favorite plant to use in PVZ Fusion, simply because of its crazy OP gimmick. Every 30 seconds, Hypno-nut acts as a spawner, producing a hypnotized mystery zombie to fight for you. On top of that though, every time a zombie takes a bite out of this walnut, there is a 4% chance of hypnotizing that zombie. The plant is so great, I even made a YouTube short about it. The game starts throwing out all-star zombies as a special zombie for this level, meaning it is Hypno-nut's time to shine. Yes, sir, bro. Oh, Hypno-nut, you were so clutch. And by the time we get to start moving Hypno-nuts around, we were, as the PVZ Fusion devs would say, being chilling. The final wave wasn't messing around, but with some explosive combustion, we were fine. I forgot to mention this, but in this game, you actually unlock tall nut in the first world, which now that I'm thinking about is really lucky for the challenge. Tall nut is considered a walnut evolution, meaning you can't just plant tall nut by itself. You have to plant a walnut first and then fuse it into a tall nut, which is actually really good logic for the challenge. Anyways, they started sending out more pole vaulters, which I thought would be the best time to try out tall nut. By using a gift box, we can transform tall nut into either an ice tall nut or fire tall nut. Both are great. On my first one, I get an ice tall nut, which not only has twice the health of a walnut, but slows down any zombies that dare eat it, making it stall for a really long time. Because these guys do drain my resources though, I have to make sure to quickly get a pair of nuts in each row so nothing gets past them, including the hurling guys, causing a damage distribution between all of my defensive plants. Anyways, I'm also able to get the flame nut, which hurts zombies that eat it, and produce a chain reaction exploding zombies with the inflamed debuff it gives out. Personally, I think ice tall nut is a bit better because it's much better at stalling due to its slowing down and freeze abilities. And I need all the time I can get to farm as many sun nuts as possible. But if I ever do get a flame tall nut from a gift box, I will not complain. The rest of the level, I spam Hypno-nut and chompzilla, which, yeah, worked pretty well. However, during this time, I realized there was a slight problem with Hypno-nut. Wait. Oh, that guy's bugged. Wait, did anyone else see that? That guy's not supposed to be in this level, right? Oh, what? Even with the glitch making Hypno-nut slightly worse now that it actually produces zombies that attack us sometimes, it is still my beloved walnut and I cherish it, and I always bring it still. For a nut that costs only 25 more sun, Scaredy Shroom seems like a pretty viable option, especially at the start. And its gimmick of reducing the amount of damage taken and knocking zombies back sounds pretty cool. But because the amount of nuts I can actually get down in time, I don't use them too much simply because of Wallnut's cooldown, and I need to use other fusion walnuts that attack better. And now the game starts throwing more variety of zombies because I have to deal with pole vaulters and all-star zombies. This makes it really annoying since I have to have multiple nuts at night for the pole vaulters and powerful nuts to kill the all-stars. After a couple of retries, I realized that even though chompzilla works wonders, it's too risky spending all of those resources at night for him at the start. Tall nuts though, great for blocking. After I get a decent wall, only then do I start getting some attacking plants. The tall nut worked for a bit, but because of the sheer amount of heavy hitters, aka all-star zombies, or football zombies, what they're called in this game, whatever you want to call them. I call them all-star zombies because I'm a Garden Warfare kid by heart. Because of just the amount they were spamming, I just spend most of my resources just replenishing tall nuts. In the end, it wasn't the prettiest setup, like, at all, but it was able to beat the wave. On day 15, we unlock ice shrooms. So you know those ice walls I was just talking about? We can guarantee the chance to make them with tall nut to 100%. Or make this little quirky guy too. After losing only a couple of lawnmowers before the first flag, we get a pretty convincing column of tall nuts and chompzillas down. These are very crucial in dealing with the new fusion zombie, this pole vaulter. If he is able to successfully leap over a plant, he spawns in 4 other pole vaulters around him. Basically like Disco Zombie, but 10 times worse. This is why tall nut is crucial for this run. Most of the time, I won't be able to stack 4 or 5 columns of nuts to block all of the pole vaulters in time. The rest of the level, I spam Hypno-nut because, man, some of the zombies this guy sends out are crazy. Literal gargantuars. Thank you, Hypno-nut. Extremely cool. Even with your stupid little glitch that PVZ Fusion hasn't fixed yet. While I was playing the night levels, usually at the end, I would use Gravebuster because I wanted to be productive. It's only until now that I realize I really shouldn't have. Like, yeah, that's actually really bad on my part. So if you see me using Gravebuster at the end of the level, don't worry, it usually doesn't make too much of a difference. That's not an excuse for cheating though, although it was an accident. Sorry, consider this my YouTuber apology. But yeah, don't worry, I played through most of the night levels again without Gravebuster. It's definitely possible. Again, Accept my humble YouTuber apology. On to level 16, and we unlock Doom Shroom. I'll tell you right now, as we progress through the night, the nuts just keep getting better. Remember when we fused Cherry Nut, it did an explosion, and then when it was killed too, it did another explosion? Yeah, well, the same is with Doom Nut. This chubby guy is incredible. He's so great that in PVZ Fusion, they don't even allow you to bring a second copy of Doom Shroom in. It really says a lot now, doesn't it? Oh god, now I have to deal with him. So now I really have to get my tolerance before he does this. Oh god, that guy is so scary. In game. In real life, I'm sure he was a great guy. Well, we always need to prepare a Doom Nut on board because PVZ Fusion starts sending out literal Michael Jackson, who spawns those pole vaulters that spawn in other pole vaulters. And without any instance on me, I had to immediately restart. On the second attempt though, we use our first Doom Nut efficiently. The good thing about Doom Nut is because you essentially get 2 Doom Shrooms for a very cheap price. If you time the explosions right, you can already have another Doom Shroom on deck for the next swarm of zombies, meaning you can cause a cycle of Doom Nut. It's also really great for wiping out zombies while focusing on Sun Nuts for early game. You'll see it's just all around an amazing plant. Using our setup from before while focusing on Doom Nut made this level a lot easier. The next level we get this negative gift box, which basically allows you to get 100 sun, but in return a random zombie appears on your field. Same with Gravebuster. I actually didn't register during this challenge the fact that it could be considered cheating, but I considered it a tool like the glove rather than the plant. I definitely could have made the challenge a little bit more extreme and ban this too. Honestly, if I were to do it again, even with how torturous this challenge was, I probably would have banned it too. But anyways, this gift box has its problems by itself because, well, nope, definitely not. Oh god, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. What the hell? Anyways, I would recommend for this challenge to focus on the advanced chompzilla fusion, Hypno-nuts in the back, and ice tall nuts. These 3 work as an actual setup for the night levels. Afterwards, they give us Gloom Shroom, which we can't use, but you know, whatever. I did a pretty normal setup, but I got 1 column of chomp nut as well, because unlike chompzilla, it can actually devour beefy guys like the tall nut zombies instead of just biting them. It does take a while to recharge, but for all the cursed tall nut abominations this game sends out, and it's quite ironic, I like using this guy. With that done, I'm glad we found some pretty OP nuts to use in this world, and we say goodbye to the night levels for a while. However, on our first pool level, we run into our first real controversy. There's not a lily pad walnut fusion yet, but what happens is if I plant a lily pad first and then a walnut, it becomes this new walnut lily pad fusion. The only problem is to really make this a walnut only challenge, I've been planting walnuts first. I'm gonna try not planting lily pads. Lily pad works really cool because its variants allow a specific type of plant to spawn every 90 seconds, which can be really good for plants that have a long cooldown. Walnut. A little later into the pool levels, I decided to use the lily pad because PVZ Fusion specifies it can be a variant of the walnut family. If you don't like it, suck my nuts. In game. Anyways, the first couple of levels, I tried not using lily pad, and instead to kill the pool lanes, we just doom it up. I'm honestly convinced this walnut doom shroom is the best doom shroom fusion in the game. I still can't process how many times it just saves my butt and nuts. After that simple level, we get the squash nut, which is a pretty fun one to use. It bounces up and down on zombies. Unfortunately, because we're on the hardest difficulty, these guys are really only good at reliably killing brown coats and coneheads, but you know what? At least they're fun to use. Anyways, I got a little sloppy with the level, but it all worked out in the end. Next, we unlock threepeater. This definitely has to be the most interesting threepeater fusion I've seen. It has a pretty interesting gimmick though. While at full HP, it deals 80 damage to 2 zombies. Just for a reference, a normal P projectile does 20. When it's at half damage, it does 60 damage to 4 zombies, and then 40 damage to 6 zombies. Basically, it has a crap ton of HP, and it's okay if it gets damaged. Sometimes. Anyways, they introduce snorkel zombies, which even without lily pad is no problem for Doom Nut. It is a problem though that they send bucket heads that take up 2 explosions in this stupid difficulty. Thankfully, Cherry Nut in our glove can always be a backup to any zombies that survive a literal nuclear explosion. Every time I use Doom Shroom and then shovel it, I'm reminded of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay guys, So I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm not even sure if we get walnuts in the next conveyor belt levels, because what's different about these worlds we're about to go into is that the pool, fog, and roof actually all have final boss levels, or whatever you want to call them, right? I know I'm going to have to bypass the rule by using a lily pad, and it's freaking cool, and I'm looking more at this. As long as I plant the lily pad and then the walnut faster than you can blink, I mean, let me plant it and see how I feel afterwards. Like, that's all it is, you know? I'm gonna allow it. I'm gonna allow it because I know I'm going to need to later. Also, I'm not even sure if these guys can kill them on the hardest difficulty. Oh, wow, nice. They're actually quite good. Fortunately, I can't use them. Okay. Using our lily pad nut spawners and tangle kelps to destroy all of the machines made this level possible. Again, if you don't want these rules, you can definitely turn the difficulty lower, but I think it'd be cool to actually allow myself to use all of the nuts. Maybe even yours too? What was I on while we're... As long as the plants that aren't walnuts do not do their ability, I think it's okay. This level really starts sending in the machines, so I have to use a lot of instant use nuts, a lot more. I decide 4 lily pad nut spawners was a healthy amount, and then glove those walnuts onto the tangle kelps. Unfortunately, the machines in the water lanes really start to get me to losing a couple of lawnmowers, and I have to restart. I decided to get greedy with 6 lily pad nut spawners. It definitely helped a lot more in the late game, and sometimes if you just let a walnut stay on there, when 2 nuts stack up on each other, they make a giant nut to roll, killing all of the machines, so I allow it. Also, this cute little tangle kelp nut, although its damage isn't that great to the zombies, it slows all the zombies down in the pool, making my job a lot easier. Lily pad being a spawner in this game really pays off, and is what makes this challenge 10 times easier. Holy! Oh, well, that was an interesting level. Dear God. Golly, I'm so great at this game though. Spike nut acts pretty similar to Endurian in PVZ 2. Every time a zombie bites it, it gets hurt. Not only that, but it has anti-crush too. I also have anti-crush in real life. The joke is that women don't like me back. This means it can actually stop the zombonis pretty well actually. And the red zombonis are stalled for long periods of time too, and can die to the spike nuts as well. It can't get the ones in the water for whatever reason, but that's why we have Tangle Kelp too. The next level introduces the Trident zombie. His whole stick is that he throws a trident to harm a plant, but it's really useless since, well, I guess planting only walnuts does have an advantage. Not really, but we can pretend. Seeing as this one was 4 flags, I decided it was best to get even greedier and get 8 lily pad spawners. I decided it was important to have something to weaken some zombies in the back, and since there were too many machines for me to justify Hypno-nut again, I put 3-nut in the back. It pains me seeing that I'm using him completely wrong, but it was really only one option. I had a few. To my surprise though, it worked pretty decent. As long as I made sure I had a spike nut blocking the zombonis and tangle kelp, it was fine. And the occasional doom nut here and there, of course. The way I'm describing this level may seem like it's easy, but this level took me a whole 20 minutes to complete. You have to be really intricate with your nuts, guys. He said nuts. I know. I'm not proud of the subtle jokes I'm making about nuts and men's genitalia too, guys, but I'd feel like a fool to not include them into a YouTube video, you know? You guys aren't mad at me, right? The setup was holding pretty sturdy until we got to the end. But when we got to the final actual wave... Oh, what the hell? Oh, I forgot they have that guy in the freaking... Yeah, nice not showing him on screen. Oh, dear God. Yeah, so there's one more challenge on top of all of these rules I'm facing, and it's that when you activate the hardest mode in PVZ Fusion, the game does something a little funny to the last 3 levels of the next 3 worlds. And that's send in this monstrous armored gargantuar. He has an unholy amount of health, spawns imps when it crushes a plant, and just my luck, all of my plants are nuts, so their defense stat is completely useless. Luckily, he dies to lawnmowers though. We unlock Torch Nut, where if you shoot 40 Ps, it actually spawns in a torchified nut. Unfortunately, we don't have any actual P projectiles, and Peanut somehow doesn't count. But the nuts that Torchwood spawns in just act as regular walnuts, and it probably wouldn't be too good. Using everything I learned from this world, I was able to lock in. When we got to the final wave this time, I wasn't going to let this monster stomp on me again. That Giga Walnut fusion where you fuse just 2 normal walnuts is incredibly powerful because it does extreme amounts of damage every single frame. Think of it like the karma effect from the Sans fight in Undertale. No lawnmowers lost! Ah! Oh, that is what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. Oh, shoot. Oh, no, sir. Okay, well, here's the real question. Do we get nuts in this conveyor belt? Oh shoot, you do. For some reason, we get walnuts for the pool conveyor belt level, which is really good for the validity of this challenge, but oh boy. Because we get a more variety of plants, meaning the amount of walnuts we can actually use for these guys are limited, we have to rely on lily pads at the start to produce as many walnuts as possible and spam anything worthwhile. The worst part of this level though is this guy. Oh, the scholar zombie. Golly, I haven't seen this guy in a while, but oh, jeez, I might have him take the lawnmower, I don't know. The problem is that this guy can shred through my nuts like there's no tomorrow. I mean, seriously, look how fast he can destroy a 3-nut, which has 12,000 HP. Excuse me? The worst part is that most of my walnuts to destroy the machines will be in front, and this zombie can absolutely obliterate them while still living. You would think to bypass this to use instant use plants like the jalapeno nut. The problem is that he has invincibility. There are certain zombies in the game that are programmed to have different phases you have to go through, no matter how much damage you input. And the worst part is when this zombie goes rapid, you need 2 instant use plants to kill him on the highest difficulty, on his second phase. So if I were to try and kill this zombie alone, I would need to spam 4 jalapenos, which means sacrifice 4 walnuts that could have been used somewhere else, like, oh, I don't know, the animatronics in the water. Even with the lily pad spawners and all the threepeaters this game gives you, this level is just painful, especially when it starts getting to the 3rd wave. You spend all this time trying to set up this perfect thing, but as more machines and more scholar zombies crowd around you, you try to scramble and rebuild your defenses, but it just doesn't work. After over 3 hours of playing this level, by focusing more on some jalapenos and other techniques, for example, when I don't intend to use a plant on a walnut, I dig it up immediately so I have more space on my conveyor belt. I do the same thing with tangle kelp, but I actually place it on a zombie and then shovel it up, which actually kills it while canceling the tangle kelp's attack phase. Speedrunners, take notes. Sure, it could be a gray area, but these pool levels are literally hell, guys. Finally, with just a little bit more RNG. Come on, man! Oh my gosh. Oh, that level. Why am I playing this on the hardest difficulty, bro? Holy shoot. We finally move on to the next world, which I would be excited for because I don't have to deal with machines and invincible zombies. But now that it's nighttime again, that means the sun production we get is really bad. The next plant we unlock though is sea shroom, and his walnut fusion is pretty interesting actually. Actually, a lot of these walnut fusions are pretty interesting. This fan game is very cool. Basically, it expands over a bit of time and then becomes a bowling nut, hurling itself over all of the zombies in the water lane. If you can time it right, this guy can actually be pretty good, especially for being quite cheap. And you get your sun back. But anyways, Doom Shroom is still better, so yeah. It's a cute nut to keep in mind though. The next plant we get to use is a Lumi-nut. I know most people would think his design is really cute, but honestly, it pisses me off for some reason. Anyways, he basically acts as a lantern, lighting up an area. Oh, and he can heal himself for a bit, while also being a defensive plant. This sounds actually really cool, and it would make the fog levels quite enjoyable, except for the fact... Unfortunately, our plants are way too weak to kill the jack-in-the-boxes, and even though they have a high defense, jack-in-the-box renders them completely useless. I hate this zombie so much. Anyways, we can somewhat ignore the jack-in-the-box exploding plants randomly by putting the plants all the way in the back, using Doom Nut where I can and freeze zombies when possible. This technique seems to help with the jack-in-the-boxes, so sure, whatever. Seriously, this guy has never been a problem for me until I started doing these challenge videos. The next level introduced us solely to the balloon zombie, which would make me cry if it wasn't for the fact we just unlocked the Cactus-nut. This nut acts just like the spike nut we used in the last world, but instead of popping tires, it pops balloons. I'll be sure to bring him around carnivals. Anyways, because it's difficulty 5, we have no room to breathe, but as they immediately send the first couple of balloon zombies out, I am prepared. Oh, that's actually extremely lucky. Oh, shoot. Ew! What is that? No, sir. Oh, I can start moving the nut around, I guess. Oh, that's disgusting, man. I'm not able to get all my cactus nuts in time because of my ass sun producers, but I am able to keep scraping for doom shrooms to win. The next level holds the same zombies except now screen door, which is actually perfect for the cactus nuts and exploding nuts and actually all the walnuts. A hovering nut that shields his tile from damage. Oh, so it literally just acts as a walnut over the plant, but that's... Well, we also get a new tool to help us, which is just as great as the glove for this challenge, the mallet. This mallet can kill any zombie except that armored gargantua we saw. On the next level, we're introduced to a machine that can fly. Because Cactus-nut only targets balloons and not killer zeppelins that drop nukes onto the field, the only way I can handle these guys are through explosions. And a lot of them, because just like bucketheads, they don't die in just one explosion. This time, it didn't matter how fast my walnuts cool down. It was a matter of my instant use plants. But by actually using ice stream as well on some of the walnuts, it stalled even the flying guys, giving me some time to explode everything I need to. Diggers, jack-in-the-boxes, and balloons. Some of the most annoying, gimmicky zombies in Plants vs. Zombies. But by implementing cactus nuts, and I think you know the rest by this point. The zombies that come backwards on my nuts were... Jeez, man. Why I... Stupid. The zombies that come backwards on my... The zombies that are backwards were annoying, but that's because that's where I stored my sun producers. We also got Star Nut, which is quite cute as it shoots star projectiles every time it gets bitten. Unfortunately, it really isn't optimal for these high health zombies. I'm sorry, my friend. But on the bright side, we won on our second try. I underestimated Ice Stream's assistance for Doom Nuts. The next walnut fusion we unlock, the pumpkin nut. Actually, I don't feel like explaining this one. You can, editor.
The nutshell is a combination of the pumpkin and walnut. When put onto a plant, it will spawn a mini nut after 50 seconds. This nut then grows slowly over time, which when consumed, heals a nearby pumpkin-type plant or produces a walnut seed packet if there isn't a plant nearby. This plant can produce a max of 3 walnut seed packets.
The next level introduces one of the most chopped zombies I have ever seen. Unlike the dolphin rider, the yeti rider launches over your tall nuts and attacks from behind as well. As long as we plant from the 4th row, we can actually just really ignore this guy. But for my sun nuts to be convenient, we rearranged the setup so it's a bit better to produce sun. After a couple of tries, I had the setup locked down. I mean, this level was definitely painful having to manage everything, but with a variety of walnuts, hooray. It may seem like I'm breezing through these levels, but I can't stress enough how much you have to micromanage everything and time it. Even though we're unlocking a lot more walnuts to use, it may sound like the challenge gets easier, but all of these gimmicky zombies make me want to die. The next walnut we unlock is Magnet Nut, which unfortunately only works on straight shooting projectiles. So Peanut is unfortunately irrelevant to me again. I really wish the Magnet Nut would work just like Magnet Shroom. I mean, its ability seems cool, but that means I'm not able to take the jack-in-the-boxes to prevent my setup from exploding. This fog road has to be the most annoying challenge by far, with the jack-in-the-boxes and these new freaky clowns whose whole purpose is that when they die, they explode and turn into another jack-in-the-box. My only hope for these guys to not blow up all my walnuts was to use Hypno-nut actually. My plan was to spawn hypnotized zombies to stall these guys as much as possible, so that when they do blow up, it will be out of reach for my walnuts. This level was just a matter of how far I can push back the explosions, and I was doing a pretty good job, but with more and more coming through the waves, let's just say this level was messy. We made it to the final flag, but that's only when I realized they sent the armored gargantuar again. It was looking hopeless, but then, just in time, I was able to scrape up just enough from the lily pad spawners to send in one more giganut and... Unfortunately for the next level, the conveyor belt doesn't include walnuts, so instead, I play the level using my nuts. I hope this is a pretty good compromise. By the time I got to the roof, I've had a total playtime of 15 hours into this run. It was spanned over a couple of days, sure, but having to wait so long for a walnut's cooldown, Sun Nut being my only producer, having no real attack power, playing on the hardest difficulty, is quite shocking that only now I've started going crazy. Anyways, we unlock Cabbage Nut. When taking damage, stores 1 times the damage taken as retaliation charge. So it's basically like Wobbuffet from Pokemon. It was pretty good in dealing with some basic zombies, but will I ever use it again? No, I have Doom Nut. Not even another level into the roof and they already start sending stupid Pogo Wogo zombies, which can jump over all of my plants. Except Tall Nut, the pot we unlocked actually has a really cool walnut fusion. It reduces the amount of damage taken from zombies by 20%. Now just imagine the possibilities of having a walnut on that tile, yeah? Unfortunately, because Wallnut has such a slow cooldown. I mean, I really do need to emphasize this yet again, even this far into this challenge. Wallnut sucks at recharging. You only see a couple of Wallnut pots here and there, but hey, just know I'm doing pretty good at my job. Outside of this challenge, this is an underrated pot fusion. You should consider using it. Anyways, because of all the basic zombies coming back out, no machines to crush my walnuts, and no stupid explosions, I wanted to start bringing in chompzilla again. By the time I can even try getting a combo of them though, Doomnut just carries. Next level, I use chompzilla and the kernel nut, which butters a zombie every couple seconds. It's like the frost nut, but slightly worse. The next level brought in ladder zombie, which is really ironic seeing as how all of my plants are nuts, which in retrospect makes him actually pretty useless. And seeing how I can use Doomshroom to just destroy all the ladders placed on my plants, yeah, this one was a breeze. The next level they started bringing in were bungees, catapults, and these mechanical walnuts that are here to destroy my walnuts. What the hell? Luckily, we have this emo-ass ugly walnut, which is an umbrella leaf. Its high health will come in clutch later, but for right now, I just use it so the zombies don't grab my nuts. I'm really tired of making these nut jokes, but like, what else am I supposed to do? I really gotta pick another challenge next time. This was hell. We're introduced next to Marigold. Now, Marigold works through a coin-based system where you can upgrade silverized plants into gold plants to give them buffs, and you can heal it without having to fuse it. But because everything's already pretty much a wall, and well, I can't really use the Marigold system because I have to plant marigolds first, which is not allowed, it's pretty useless in this challenge. Same goes with the garlic nut as well. It actually has a poison system, but against the really tough zombies in this difficulty, it's not worth it, and diverting zombies to a lane where everything has a walnut, it's just not that great. Okay, so this guy sucks because he does a big leap, but this should actually work pretty nicely and it'll stall him for a while. This umbrella leaf is actually pretty good for a walnut, actually. It's actually really good because it prevents zombies from all cluttering up. We've almost made it through this treacherous challenge with actually only using walnut. I mean, I didn't really think about it until now, but wow. We've almost completed the entire game using the most simple defensive plant. The last plant we unlocked for walnut is melon pulp, which acts as cabbage pulp, but a lot heavier. Unfortunately, I don't like spending 350 for a walnut fusion. This level is terrifying though, as they now start sending out gargantuars, which, you know, will kill our walnuts in one hit. Oh, and the worst part, these guys take 4 instant use plants to kill them. And you may be thinking now, Roman, there's no way you can store up all those explosions for gargantuars. And you're right, this level was terrible. I had to come up with unique ways to stall or somehow kill any gargantuar they send, and they send a lot this level. However, remember that pumpkin nut I was talking about? Actually, I didn't even talk about pumpkin nut. I told my editor to explain that. Hopefully you did a pretty good job explaining that. Anyways, it seems like its gimmick of giving us some walnut seed packets may be kind of optimal here. And if I can get some good RNG with the hypnotized mystery zombies, maybe we have a chance. We also have the hammer that can one-shot some gargantuars. And we do have the giga walnut too that can absolutely wreck these guys. But this level takes micromanaging to a whole new level. And what I mean by that is that it took me several tries to even get somewhat close. I was able to produce enough walnuts to stall till the final wave, and thank God we have lawnmowers on the roof. And with that, we have one more level where we have to use walnuts. On the last level, it doesn't look like they're sending much, but trust me, they are. These red balled catapulting zombies, after a while, send cherry bomb projectiles that greatly damage umbrella leaves. And if those umbrella leaves aren't there to protect you, say goodbye to your entire setup. It's also important to mention that they take 2 explosions to die to. Hooray. And then the mechanized gargantuars. They're immune to any effect given to them, so say goodbye to stalling them with ice cream on these suckers. If you think this level was hell, think 10 times harder, because it was absolutely terrible. You have to, in such a short amount of time, because your walnuts are so scarce, think about every fusion possible and its opportunity costs. And what felt like months of torture playing this game on the hardest difficulty, I found the beauty setup. Hypno-nuts for stallation and lucky RNG. Pumpkin nuts to get as many giga nuts as possible while producing more walnuts when needed. Umbrella leaf nuts doing such a great job of stalling, pushing zombies back into Hypno-nut, and not dying immediately to the explosive catapults. Putting walnuts on top of those umbrella leaf nuts, and then sun nut for existing for this challenge. And with everything I learned from Wallnut, I mastered this defensive plant. The final wave defeat the armored gargantuar. After this challenge, I realized I had a lot to learn about plants, even simple plants like Wallnut, who, even when being the burden of sacrificing himself on countless hordes of zombies, smiles through, trying to be the beacon of hope for the plants, the sacrificial lamb. Thank you, Wallnut. Very cool. Oh my gosh, I actually just shed a tear.